Welcome to Churches and Charity by Missions Filled, the podcast where we explore the powerful ways churches and charities are partnering to transform communities.
So today we have a special guest with us. Our special guest is Jason Blank from Capital Area Health Alliance, and their organization is really dynamic in our community. So we're honored to have him. Jason, can you share more about what you guys do and who you are?
Thank you again for having me. It's an honor to be here. CAHA is a 501c3 in the area. We work directly with hospitals, systems, as well as nonprofits, as well as community groups and churches to ensure that there is a streamline of services as we are working directly to impact our community, mostly around social determinants of health, as well as other disparities that our community may be facing. So we try to do our best to make sure that we are making sure there's no duplication of service, making sure that we are looking at data to help guide our decisions in either developing policy or creating programs or writing grants that will simply help infuse funds to create, once again, those dynamic services that you were talking about. All of that really is done under our collaborative, just making sure that ensuring that the residents' voice is heard, as well as looking to, once again, those hospital partners and health departments, making sure that they are able to chime in on what they can and can't do.
What's one major thing that you think the public would, recognize that Capital Area Health Alliance has done in our community?
Sure. One big thing for us is we partnered with Ingham County Health Department to collaborate on a grant project, which is the COVID-19 Disparities Grant, where we were very influential, our organization, in helping to develop a Health Equity Council. Our Health Equity Council is made up of various residents and or community organizations so that they can, once again, look at those social determinants of health issues that arose from COVID-19. The grant does focus on the BIPOC community. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we created the Health Equity Council, which was made up of diverse populations, so that we created a mini grant process so that those mini grant dollars can go specifically to those groups to address those specific disparities that affect those groups. So,
just to break it down,
yeah.
What I understand is
Yes.
You guys help organizations get funds to impact people in need.
That is correct.
From diverse spaces. Can you mention maybe some of those spaces that people might be familiar with, like organizations that are frontline?
Yep. So we have the Latino Health Alliance. We have Missions Field. We also have One Love Global. We also have, I feel like I'm missing a couple here. Refugee Development Center. So, that's just a few of the organizations that are in the area, but there are many more that are represented at the table.
So I'm glad you guys are putting the community first by putting representation of what their needs are on the table of leaders and influencers like the hospitals and those within your network of partners that you have. I think that's vital. I think even when it comes to decision making, and especially this being the beginning of the year, it's important for organizations to have an understanding of and evaluate what their impact has been so far, and versus just moving forward without understanding where the needs really are. So thank you again for being an instrumental part in our community for that. This also reminds me of some of the work you've done. We actually have an interview that we're going to show on this episode that is from the Pilgrim Baptist Church health ministry leader. Her name is Angela Stepter. And so we'll share some of that video.
A lot of people in the African American community died because of these underlying health issues that prevented their bodies from being able to fight back. So when we got back to church, my mission certainly changed. So we've done a lot of things in the past, but the most important thing that we've done and we're going to do more of is provide health seminars. So we do a lot of that at church. We have some professionals in our congregation. We have some doctors. We have a psychiatrist. We have some social workers. So we have people from varying degrees of education in our congregation. So those are great resources for us. But we also seek resources from the community. So what I try to do is I'm very passionate about saving people's lives. I've had family members with cancer. Unfortunately, my husband did not live. His cancer took his life 4 years ago. My mother, diabetes, hypertension, ended up with strokes that killed her. My sister, diabetic. So I have a huge history of diabetes in my family. And in our church congregation, we have a tremendous amount of breast cancer survivors. We have a lot of prostate cancer survivors. So we all, as the health ministry leader, again, we listen to what's happening in our congregation, what kind of illnesses are people dealing with, and then we find support. We go to the community or we go in our congregation and we find somebody who can speak to that particular thing. And we bring them in, and we typically have a luncheon, and it's typically after church when most of our people are there. However, we've done some surprise attacks, and we've brought in doctors to talk to our men during Sunday school. So the men are all there. Here's a urologist. Guess what? Today's lesson is this. We're going to talk about urology. Because sometimes it's harder to get men to go to the doctor. So we'll bring a doctor to them. And what that did do for our men, and again, this is a personal testimony, because we brought in a urologist, because he was familiar to our men. When my husband got prostate cancer, that's the first person we turned to, because we had a relationship already. We understood some things from what we learned from him coming in. So we brought him in to talk to the men, but we also brought him in to talk to the women and the men. So we brought in MSU College of Nursing to talk about breast cancer. They brought in a great doctor with them the third time around. One of our members had breast cancer. Who did she consult with? The doctor that came to our congregation. It has saved her life. So we try to bring people and resources together where they are. We get people where they are. If they are at church, we're going to get them while they're there.
Angela was very helpful in allowing us to get in front of her constituents, which was at the local Pilgrim Church, so that we can host a listening sessions around social determinants of health. And I listened to her interview and I was blown away about what she shared, especially around those health issues that individuals within her community are dealing with, which would have been diabetes, which is cancer, and I feel like there was another one, but just the fact that she was able to kind of uplift those issues that I know the churches are dealing with, so that we can galvanize our partners to say, okay, so how can we identify ways to support our church groups? So that listening session allowed us to really have firsthand knowledge, get in the space, to get into their space and really just start to understand some of those issues and concerns, so that once again we can take that data back and share it with our local hospital partners or our health department, so we can identify resources to help support that, your community or our church communities, our church partners, in just making sure that just making sure the services are getting directly to them. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, we'll help, and here's a website, but actually identifying resources and funding and actually setting up those resources in those targeted areas is very important to us. I know Dr. Sean Holland has a neighborhood wellness center at his church location, and he is doing some really innovative work. Dr. Sean is our health equity counsel, and so the fact that he was able to identify a need for his population or for the individuals that he is serving. And so one thing Kaha was able to do was make a connection with Michigan State University, and which would be their medical department. It's not osteopathic, but it's their family practice. And so they were able to bring in resources to that neighborhood wellness center. So doing some of those tangible things where they can bring doctors into specific venues and locations is very similar to what Angela said she was doing. She already had a doctor there on site. So really just trying to find ways to bring those resources in. I know that, once again, I'm only using the neighborhood wellness center because that's something that's very recent for Kaha. They mentioned that they were looking for culturally appropriate foods, so that, once again, their members and congregations could benefit. So that was one thing that Kaha did, was we reached out to a local organization. They have it's almost like a food bank, to see if they could bring a on-site food pantry to that area, so that they can continue to build out services and resources for them. So
we're going to quickly cut to the interview that we had with Angela, since we keep referencing that, so you guys can see the things that were shared in her interview. This is the interview that was presented to a group of leaders in the community, from nonprofits and churches, on how their program, their health ministry, has impacted residents in their neighborhoods and guests in their churches as well.
So we tend to have our seminars on Sundays. 90% of our seminars are on Sundays immediately following church. We'll provide lunch, and then we'll provide education. So it's a lunch and learn, a healthy meal, some education. We bring in people that may have resources that they can provide to the members who show up. But not only is it open to Pilgrim Rest members, it's open to the community. We did blood pressure screenings while we were there, and we had the cards from the Red Cross so that you could not only have your blood pressure checked at that time, but we also had a doctor available so that if anybody had questions, or if you didn't have questions, but we noticed that your blood pressure was high, she was going to have a conversation with you at that moment and then suggest that you follow up. Put it out there. We encourage people to invite other people because we want to save lives. And like I said, COVID certainly brought it to light. I had a friend who was diabetic. He got COVID. He couldn't fight it. He died. He lost his life. And so we want to equip people to make, even if it's a small change, those small changes can equate to bigger changes in the grand scheme of things. So that's what our health ministry is about. We are about equipping people to save their lives. That's the hope, that's the goal, that's the prayer.
Growing up, the church wasn't just a place of worship, it was a place where people found hope when they were struggling, where kids found mentors, and where families came together to support one another. But over time, I started noticing something. Many churches and charities had the heart to do more but lacked the resources or the connections to make it happen. That's where Missions Filled was born. At Missions Filled, our goal is simple yet profound: to bridge the gap between churches, charities, and the communities they serve. We do this by providing funding, resources, and tools that help churches maximize their impact. Whether it's helping churches start after-school programs, offering grants for food pantries, or connecting them with partners to launch community initiatives, our mission is to fill the gaps. But Missions Filled isn't working alone. We believe in the power of partnerships, whether it's connecting churches to local charities, training volunteers, or organizing community events. We're here to ensure that no one is working in isolation. As we move forward, we're excited to launch new initiatives, like an online directory of church programs and rental spaces. This will make it easier for communities to find and access the resources they need. We're also rolling out our annual magazine, highlighting the incredible work churches and charities are doing together.
All right, so we're back. So thank you again for watching that. We're going to get back into a few more questions before we end. We actually are going to, let's talk about, again, the listening session, a little more about that. I can learn from one of my mentors the value of partnering and collaborating, bringing together nonprofit leaders, researchers, and churches to the table to impact people in need. And so this listening session that Jason had mentioned, I was actually in attendance, and they actually brought a great deal of resources and capacity to the table for the session to happen. Can you tell us more about things that you guys offer, and even if it's just more than just the session, the ways that you can look forward to partnering with more organizations in the future?
Absolutely.
As churches?
Absolutely. So there's two major projects that CAHA is a part of right now. The first big one is social determinants of health hubs. There are health hubs that have been established via the state of Michigan, DHHS office around the state. CAHA is working with Ingham County Health Department to establish the fourth cohort. The health hubs will have a steering team. It's going to kind of help guide the work. The steering team's going to be made up of various residents and organizations and hospital partners, once again, to help kind of guide some of the work that we want to do. And within the health hubs, that funding will have $120,000 that's going to go out into the community via mini grants to various organizations to once again help address social determinants of health. The main goal of those hubs is to work on community information sharing, and so that community information sharing is an opportunity for organizations like CAHA, like the Lansing Latino Health Alliance, like Missions Field, to say, hey, we've collected this data around health disparities. Let's share it amongst ourselves so that as there are other issues that may arise, we can go back to this data and utilize the data to help guide our work. The social determinants of health mini grants, those grants will really focus on health and all policies. Or health and all policies framework. So health and all policies really is just looking at generalized policies that you would create either around housing or road infrastructure, and just making sure that there's a health focus in every policy that you create. So we'll not only be addressing social determinants of health, but we'll also be looking at policies and how those policies affect our residents in the community. So that's a really big multi-year program. The second project that we're working on, where we just received dollars from Ingham County Health Department, who is a major big partner for CAHA, we received grant dollars to facilitate maternal infant health. But what we're doing within that grant is we're providing free birth education workshops in the community for a 7-month period. And so that those workshops will be very instrumental. We'll be working with Sunburst Doulas, which is a local doula organization in the area, and just making sure, as well as our community partners on the Health Equity Council, and just really just offering up free health education classes, birth and maternal health education classes for expecting, birthing parents in the area. So we're excited. We're really excited about that project because both projects, but I'm excited about the birth, maternal infant health and birth classes because of the fact that we will once again be able to get into the community and work directly with individuals. CAHA typically works with larger organizations, so this allows us to expand our footprint. And if I may, I forgot to mention another partner that we're going to have for maternal infant health, which we haven't had an opportunity to work with them. So this is really important for us, is that we have the Michigan chapter of American Pediatrics who will be working with us on that project as well. So once again, we're tying in our hospital partners to actually come in and work with doulas. And typically doulas in hospitals have had a very precarious relationship, so we're forging new ground to allow our hospital partners to say, hey, we do respect doulas and we recognize their importance and how they address the disparities for maternal infant health, especially for minority or individuals who are facing disparities in various areas around the area. That grant is going to service Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham, and so just having that opportunity for us to be able to bring in experts to share their expertise with the families and congregations in the area. I'm looking to set one up in local churches, so that's a plug. If you all have a space for us to come in, we'd love to bring it in. But I'm so excited about both those projects. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of bring us to a close from Summary, Capillary Health Alliance, the reason why I'm glad that they're on this episode is because they're all about, even their name is Alliance, it's about collaboration.
Yes.
And mission of our show is always to show the collaboration between churches and charity, and how they work together and how capacity grows when there's collaboration involved. And yes, you heard Jason has shared many examples and testimonies of how they've increased the impact on families because of collaborative partners they brought to the table. So how can they follow you, Jason, or find you?
The best place is to, CAHA's website is capillaryhealthalliance.org. So it's really simple. You can go there. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is the same, Capillary Health Alliance. If anyone does ever wants to reach out to me, it's just jason@cahealthalliance.org. So I welcome any emails, any ways to partner, any ways that we can help address any issues and concerns within our church congregations and populations. I am a listening ear because I just want what's best for our community. And this is just a good way for us to really stay connected to the great work that Missions Field is doing, as well as our local pastors and churches in the area.
And it's also, he actually told me, it's Social Determinants of Health Month.
It is, yes.
We're celebrating that this month. What is the time period of the month?
So Social Determinants of Health actually started January 1st through January 30th, 31st. And so there are various events that are going on. The best way to find out more about that is to actually go to the Department of Health and Human Services. If you do just a general Google search on Social Determinants of Health, State of Michigan, DHHS, it will come up and it will give you a wide range of activities that are going on for the month. There's also a newsletter you can sign up for CAHA as well as the Social Determinants of Health, so you can stay abreast of what's going on. So. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of great resources. There are a lot of partners, just like Missions Field, that are really just trying to galvanize and bring the community together. So, Adam, I thank you for the work that you're doing because you've been really instrumental in helping us to connect with populations that we typically wouldn't connect with. So, thank you for your time and your dedication.
Thank you for joining us on this first episode of Churches and Charity by Missions Field. This podcast is more than a series, it's a movement. Together we can empower churches, charities, and communities to create lasting change. If you're a church leader, a nonprofit director, or someone who's passionate about making a difference, we'd love to hear from you. Visit us at missionsfield.org and stay connected with us on social media. Until next time, keep building bridges, and let's fill the world with hope, one mission at a time.